Archaeologists in Magdeburg, Germany, are preparing to open a stone tomb that has remained undisturbed for 500 years at the city's cathedral. They hope to find the remains of Edith of England, who was the Queen of Germany over 1,000 years ago. While there is a strong possibility that the ancient grave will be empty, the researchers are astonished by what they discover when they open the lid coffin. Edith, also known as Edith the Great, began her rule of Germany in 936. She came from a prominent lineage, being one of the 8 children of Edward and Alfred. Her siblings included Elfgifu, who married the King of West Francia, and Idhild, who married the Duke of the Franks. Edith's parents divorced when she was young, and she joined her mother, who was sent to a monastery, possibly in Salisbury or Winchester. Edith's royal lineage traced back to Sigeric of Wessex, who was among the leaders of the Anglo-Saxon conquest of England. Her maternal grandfather, Alfred the Great, had ruled the Anglo-Saxon kingdom of Wessex from 871 to 886 and played a significant role in unifying England. Despite an apocryphal story about a culinary mishap involving Alfred, his true place in history stems from his successful defense against Viking attacks and his efforts to expand his kingdom. Edith was born after Alfred's reign in 910, during her father Edward's rule. The process of unifying the nation was still ongoing, but Edward had managed to gain control of most of England, leaving only Northumbria under Viking control. In 924, Edith's half-brother Aethelstan ascended to the English throne after their father's death. Aethelstan's mother, Egwin, was Edward's first wife, and his reign marked the beginning of European affairs affecting Edith's life. Henry the Fowler, king of the East Franks, sought to unite his kingdom with the English crown. He proposed a marriage alliance between his eldest son, Otto, and one of Aethelstan's half-sisters. Edith and her sister Elfgifu traveled to East Francia to meet Otto, who eventually chose Edith as his future wife. In 930, Edith and Otto married, and 6 years later, Otto became the king of the Franks after Henry's death. Otto the Great continued his father's work of uniting the German tribes and also gained control of the Roman Catholic Church in Germany. In 962, he became the Holy Roman Emperor. However, Edith had already passed away in 946 at the age of around 35. Not much is known about her reign as Queen of Germany, but she was known for her charitable works and gifts to religious institutions. Edith and Otto had 2 children, a son named Ludolf, born in 930, and a daughter. In summary, archaeologists in Magdeburg, Germany, are excited to open a stone tomb that has remained undisturbed for centuries. They hope to find the remains of Edith of England, a queen of Germany over 1,000 years ago. Edith came from a prestigious lineage, and her marriage to Otto the Great united England and Germany. While little is known about her reign, she left a lasting legacy as a charitable queen. During the invasion of Italy, Liudgert, who was born in 932 after marrying Conrad the Red, passed away at the young age of 22 in 953. Premature death was common during the Middle Ages. Edith, on the other hand, was initially laid to rest in the Benedictine monastery of St. Maurice, which she and Otto founded in Magdeburg in 937. St. Maurice, believed to be an Egyptian Christian, served in the Roman army during the 3rd century, rising to the rank of commander. He later became a martyr for refusing to fight fellow Christians. However, Edith's final resting place was not at the Maurice monastery. Her remains were moved multiple times until they were reinterred in Magdeburg Cathedral in 1510. For the next 500 years, her resting place remained unknown until German archaeologists decided to open her tomb in 2008. Initially, there was an assumption that Edith's tomb might be empty or serve as a cenotaph. However, upon opening the stone sarcophagus, researchers discovered a lead coffin with a Latin inscription on its lid. The writing indicated the presence of Queen Edith's remains. When the archaeologists opened the coffin, they were astonished to find remarkably well-preserved human remains covered in a fine silk shroud. Historian and author Michael Wood in a 2010 article, described the discovery as a small, slim-framed figure, slightly bent at the knees, resembling a sleeping child. Despite this finding, further scientific confirmation was necessary to establish the identity of the remains as Edith's. The uncertainties surrounding archaeological finds and the difficulty in determining specific identities for ancient bones were acknowledged by Professor Harold Miller, the project director from the German Saxony Anhalt Heritage Management and Archaeology State Office. To confirm the identity of the remains, advanced scientific analysis was required. The bones were sent to the University of Maine in Germany, where Professor Kurt Alt examined them. Alt concluded that the bones belonged to a female who had perished between the ages of 30 and 40. Furthermore, evidence from one of the thigh bones indicated that she had frequently ridden horses, suggesting she was likely from the upper echelons of society, much like Edith herself. It is important to note that the skeleton found in the lead coffin was incomplete. Bones from the feet, hands, and a large portion of the skull were missing. These missing remains were likely due to the common medieval practice of removing and using relics. Nevertheless, the available remains warranted further analysis. Consequently, the bones were transported to the University of Bristol in England, where experts could conduct an in-depth examination. Initial investigations using carbon dating produced a result that was 2 centuries older than expected, based on the age of the cathedral remains. However, the fabrics found in the coffin seemed to date back to Edith's time. Attempts to extract DNA from the bones failed due to their poor preservation. Nevertheless, scientists persevered and turned to advanced analysis of the teeth found in the coffin. The analysis involved examining the chemical composition or isotopes of oxygen and strontium present in the teeth. These isotopes build up in dental structures over time and vary depending on the environment and geological makeup of the location where the person lived. Dr. Alistair Pike, a senior lecturer at Bristol's Department of Archaeology and Anthropology, explained that this technique allowed them to reconstruct a person's whereabouts up to the age of 14. The results showed that the owner of the teeth had grown up in the distinctive chalklands of southern England, particularly in the Wessex region. This aligns with historical knowledge of Edith's childhood. Further dental analysis by Professor Mark Horton from the University of Bristol compared the isotopes in Edith's teeth to those from graves around Magdeburg. The isotopes in Edith's teeth were significantly different from those of the local population, indicating that she did not spend her childhood in Magdeburg. The evidence from the teeth corroborated Edith's documented movements as she followed her father, King Edward the Elder, during his reign. The researchers also addressed the anomalous radiocarbon dating results, which were likely affected by Edith's protein-rich diet as a child. This diet can disrupt carbon dating techniques. Furthermore, the absence of grave goods in the alleged tomb of Edith was noted. However, the high-quality silken dyes used for the shroud suggested the burial of someone from an aristocratic background. In conclusion, the analysis and scientific investigations strongly suggested that the mortal remains found in Magdeburg Cathedral belonged to Queen Edith of England, Queen of the East Franks. After a journey spanning over a millennium, her bones returned to England and were buried once again in Magdeburg in a titanium coffin in October 2010. Subscribe for more updates.